Hi, my name is Jill Nelson, and I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I grew up in Logan Square, and I went to Schurz High School.
All right. So, Jill, we were wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how you got involved in Rising Up Angry. What do you think it was in your background that might have made you open to that?
Okay, so I believe, even though I didn't know it at the time, but I know that my grandfather, who was from Duluth, Minnesota, was in a union and was wobbly, I think. And I think I know that. I'm not 100% sure. No way to verify that at this point. But so I at first was not open to the idea of Rising Up Angry. I didn't like that my brother was being recruited to be in the organization. He was a gangbanger. His name was Jack, and he was a gangbanger, and he was in a gang in the Lakeview neighborhood, and he was heading down the wrong path, and I would have to go and rescue him from the gang, from doing drugs, and I was constantly, getting him on the right track. And when I saw Michael James trying to recruit him, I just said, stay away from him. I just got him away from that shit, And a few months later, I saw Michael again at Schurz High School, and he convinced me to read the newspaper, and I saw that it was, it was issues that I thought were important, or at least I thought were, things that I was feeling bad about, like the war, or about, just the neighborhoods and things like that.
So, when you were saying about your grandfather, can you tell us a little bit about your family? What were they about?
Well, my mom grew up in Duluth, Minnesota. Her parents were both from Norway, and her father, my grandfather, was a logger, and my grandmother came here to be, in essence, a servant to a rich family in New York. And once she worked for them for a year, she was free to go on her own way, and she went to Duluth, and that's where she met her husband, my grandfather. So I don't really know that much about them. My grandfather died when he died way before I was born, while my mother was in high school. My mom hitchhiked from Duluth, Minnesota to Chicago, and got a job on Maxwell Street at the hot dog stand, and just found her way from there. And so when I was born, we lived on Madison Avenue across the street from the stadium, the Chicago Stadium, and my older sisters and brother had to go back and live in Minnesota, because at that time apartment owners could tell you can't live here if you have children. And so there'd be a 4-bedroom apartment, 3-bedroom apartment, but you couldn't rent it if you had kids, only if maybe one. So she had to send them back to Duluth, Minnesota to live with my grandmother until they could afford to buy a house, or at least find an apartment, which they did. They found an apartment and eventually got a house. My dad was a truck driver, and my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom until we had a little grocery store, and then she worked her fucking ass off from 7 in the morning till 9 at night, and it was horrible for her. And my dad died when I was 12, and finally she gave it up and got a minimum wage paying job, because that's all she could get, because she didn't have a high school education.
So it sounds like there's a reason why you felt a responsibility to take care of your brother, because your mom was probably working pretty long hours.
Yeah, my mom was, and then my older sisters, they got married, and my older brother moved to Florida, and my mom, it was just us, and I needed to, I needed to take care of him. I needed to make sure he was okay, that he made it through those rough high school years.
Okay, so you were saying that you didn't want him involved, and before you knew it, there was something about it all that made you curious. So could you say, what was it like when you got involved in Rising Up Angry? What attracted you, and what did you do in Rising Up Angry?
I'm not sure what actual event got me involved, but I do know that my last year in high school, a couple of us girls got together and said, we want to wear pants to school.